All right, in case you missed it, Kirby Smart had something to say to Greg Sankey, commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, after winning the SEC championship game over Texas. Ryan, you shot this, and Matt, I'm sure you've seen it on TV. I've got something to say about this, but it might not be what everybody else thought. Matt, you know what, Ryan? Why don't you go first? What could you actually hear in the moment?
Yeah, hard to hear, but you could hear what he said.
It means rest for a team that Greg Sankey and his staff sit on the road all year long. They get to take a lot of
Yes.
They sent us on the road all year long, right? So what actually happened was they were, first of all, the trophy ceremony, I think, was a little disorganized from what
A
I could
little.
tell. It didn't seem like the order of things was going the right way. And Laura Rutledge is there kind of trying to get things done. Kirby and them are doing their own thing. And she asked him, like, what does it mean to get this bye? And he couldn't hear at first. And then he finally answers and he's like, well, it means rest for a team. And he points over at Greg Sankey. He says that Greg Sankey and his staff sit on the road all year long. And that's kind of the punchline there. He said a little bit more after that, and I think that the subject got changed. And then Sankey kind of, doesn't give a huge congratulations to Georgia, and I think that people were gonna kind of getting caught up on that. But this is what Kirby does, right? This is what he did after the Texas game when he called ESPN out and called the officiating out, talking about how they tried to rob us, talking about how everyone doubted us, right? This is what he does. He sends shots at the committee, just like a lot of coaches do. But when Kirby has something to say in terms of defending his football team and calling people out, he's not shy of doing it. He did it on a big moment and a big stage here. I think that for most people, it already switched over to a different game, so they didn't see it on TV. I think. I'm not
I am
100%
not
sure.
sure. I'm not prepared to say that is true. I don't know if
Yeah,
people
so
saw it on
that's
television.
what I think happened, and this was mostly a thing that circulated on social media. But this is classic Kirby.
Yeah, this is why his players love him. I mean, they ate that up. They're the ones who had to go play on the road and do all this traveling. Arguably one of the toughest schedules anyone's ever had in college football. How many other teams went on the road at Austin, Texas to play the Horns and went on to
Three
Tuscaloosa
others.
to play? So, he called him out and the fans loved it. His team loves it. And Kirby Smart's about the Dogs. He is about this program. He doesn't care what Greg Sankey has to say. He doesn't care what other SEC coaches feel like. He stood on the SEC, bandwagon before, and he doesn't mind telling everyone, hey, this is the best conference, whether you like it or not. Right? The SEC championship is not the same as the Big Ten championship. And it goes to show how much he loves this team, but this program too. He's all about this team, and the players feed off of that. And I know the Georgia fans loved it. I was actually walking up to do instant reaction, going up the Mercedes-Benz stairs, and I heard it over the intercom. And I kind of turned around like, he just called out Greg Sankey right then and there. Didn't even care. Didn't care that Greg Sankey was 5 feet away from him and was looked very uncomfortable watching online. Greg Sankey he wanted to eat a Snickers bar. He wanted to get away right then. And Kirby Smart didn't care. And I just think that's who he is. He's not changing. And it's why he is winning over parents and players on the recruiting trail. And that's kind of why he's built this team. They stand for each other. They play for their coach, and he coaches for them. And that's just another example of it.
Hey, just real quick, I want to wish Coker a lot of luck tonight. The 17th ranked Cobras are going up to Anderson to start league play tonight, fellas. So we'll just see how that goes. They've gotten off to a very good start in the season, and they're 7-0. Excuse me, I thought they had lost a game, Matt, but they've not. Ripping through everybody. Couple overtime games back to back, so they know what Georgia's like. So Coker will go to Anderson tonight to start league play. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, there's a lot of nuance here that needs to be discussed. First of all, this is why we almost never should have post-game interviews right after the game. Like, there was emotion spilling out all over the dome. Mike Bobo, the coaches' families could not get onto the field. I don't know about Mary Beth. Might have been able to. I didn't see Mary. No, I did see Mary Beth and his father and mother after the game. But a lot. Glenn Schumann's wife could not get on the field. So there was a little bit, perhaps, agitation. That's not what caused what Kirby said. So they're on the podium, I think Laura. So full background. I don't know Laura super well, but we did work together for a while at Scout back when it existed. Laura was just trying to grab Dylan Everett, I think. Am I right? Was he not the MVP? So I think she went looking for the MVP. She's the MC for the thing, but no one was getting the person who was the MVP to the stage. So here's Greg Sankey. He doesn't know what's going, so there was a lot of confusion. So as far as that's concerned, I don't place that on Laura. I mean, I think it's the Southeastern Conference's responsibility to facilitate people being where they're supposed to be post game. But it's some of this was what happens in after championship moments. I do want to say about what Kirby said. Georgia was going to play Texas or Oklahoma this year. Texas couldn't play everybody. Oklahoma got the worst part of that. I don't think we knew that necessarily heading into the season. Oklahoma was supposed to be a good team. They are not. And now Texas, we'll learn tonight. Texas, or we learned last night. Excuse me. This is post when the schedule comes out. But we're learning. We know now Texas has to go to Florida, has to go to Georgia. I mean, everything's reversed, so it's all of that. But I mean, there's no question that Greg Sankey and Kirby was aggravated by. Kirby is very good at figuring out how to be aggrieved about a particular thing that may be an aggrievement or really kind of. In this case, I think, Georgia fans are trying to figure out a way to get as aggravated as possible about whatever it may be. And that's fine. I mean, we saw some idiot in Ohio today, a legislator, which is an indication of idiocy typically, talking about passing legislation in Ohio where you can't plant a flag at a sporting event. So sometimes we're taking this stuff a little too seriously. Go look it up. This is where we're at right now. But I think in terms of Georgia has always, Ryan, particularly since you've been covering the team, Georgia has been very good at putting a chip on their shoulder, imaginary or not. And we saw that Saturday night. Was that Greg Sankey's fault? No. And let me just say this too about the scheduling. Greg Sankey's got more to concern himself about as it relates to elevating Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, etc., which is solving the riddle of the college football playoff. The problem, I don't think they can do it this year. They can, but they won't have the votes. So anyway, Kirby and them are always really good at figuring this out. I remember quite well the way Nolan was. I remember, and I think this was not a good moment at all. I think it was sad for Stetson, the way he was talking about how no one thought we could do this. I mean, they were 15-0. So I some of this stuff after a while, I saw Malachi talking about people doubting us all the time. We picked you to win the league and to play Texas in the league. I mean, you're the number 2 team in the country right now. I mean, you borderline should win the national championship. The issue are the injuries and so forth. But anyway, Ryan, they're good at this.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Nolan Smith in there briefly talking about. I guess this was between the 21 and the 22 season. They're saying we're going 7-5.
Yeah,
right.
No one was saying that. Literally,
no one's saying that. Some of it is imaginary. Some of it's real. I think that if you're Georgia, obviously, especially at the beginning, you're dealing with the Alabama part of it, right? And can you get over this one hump? And then they finally did that, but they've got the quarterback that no one believes in. Some of it's been real and some of it's not. There's definitely a lot of drama, not real drama, but a lot of drama in just discussing the program. And there's always something. And these quarterbacks are scrutinized. Look at how Carson Beck has been scrutinized over the last 6 months. There's a lot of attention, and it is the best program, right? Or it's at the very least, it's competing to be the best program in college football. But I think you can kind of say it has been, at least for the last few years. And I think part of it is just how Kirby is, and it's a motivating tactic. But like Matt said, this is who he is. He stands up for people. He stands up for the program that he cares about, and it's a big trait in why he's successful and why people buy into what he has to do. Kirby is like a general. in that facility, basically. And I don't know how many of the players have an extremely personal relationship with him, but whether they do or they don't, you could tell that they believe in what's going on in there. And you see, I think that what happened with Trevor Etienne is a great example, and what he was talking about the other day after the game, and how he had never been a part of something like that before, and how these moments are just really special. It kind of all goes back to that, but as far as what happened on the podium, that's classic Kirby right there. He feels like in a way that they were wronged, he's going to say something about it.
They really weren't wronged. They just played a really hard schedule. Kirby said exactly. It means rest for a team that Greg Sankey and his staff sat on the road all year long. All year long, right?
I think he said sent.
Yeah. Whatever he does to motivate his team, it works. And that was just another motivator. He knows how to get them riled up. He knows how to get them ready. And, he said, I think after the game, this team plays best with their backs against the wall. Well, sometimes he's got to push their backs against the wall and tell them some stuff, whether it's made up or not, about how no one believes in you. When, again, I think all three of us all offseason for 9 months say that they are probably the team that could win a national title. So whether he has to make motivating stuff up or not, it works. And this team does play their best when they think that no one believes in them and this and that. They can beat every team in the country. We know it, and they know it too. They just didn't get it done a couple times this year. And a lot of it was because they were playing on the road. Both of their losses were on the road, and they won some big road games too. But as far as I want to say this about the flag planting. I'm very pro flag planting, if I can get my words out. I think it should almost be mandatory. If you go on the road and win, you should have to plant your flag at midfield. I'm all about it. I'd love to see more. If it starts a little squirmish, then it starts a little squirmish. But I'm very pro planting your flag on the opponent's 50-yard line. That's just me. And maybe they should do it next time they win a 16-13 game in Kentucky. I don't know. Maybe that'll give them more juice to go back there and play better. I don't know. But I'm all about it. And if that motivates this team to play their best, that's what Kirby's going to do. And I think he does a great job of getting them to play at their best when their backs are against the wall and they have a really quality opponent across the sidelines.
So let me say this as an adult. One concern I have about the Kirby stuff as it relates to the motivation is we live in a post-truth world a lot of the time, and when he's saying some of this stuff, he's exaggerating the truth, and it's eventually going to not be healthy. And the thing that's so strange about that part is they are straight up with those guys about where they are in the program, about their future in the NFL and so forth. But I know I played at a far lower level, as we just saw, than at Georgia, but we really didn't do that. But I think that there's something to be said for that now. I wouldn't take it too far if I were Kirby and them, because at some point, if you're in the world of sports, Ryan, if you're in the world of sports, business, politics, parenting, there's not always a right decision to be made. There's always reason to question or have judgment, or whatever you want to call it. That doesn't mean it's unhealthy. And I don't want it to be that Kirby goes too far and makes it unhealthy, saying, hey, no one's picking you. I mean, the morons I mean that in a loving way. The morons on game day aren't picking you, but they picked you, against whoever it was. I mean, I don't know, after a while. I mean, to me, I think that maybe that should just be left in the locker room. And maybe when we see it out in public, it's like, I mean, I don't know. But this is a common thing. That's what I get worried about is, and this is, I'll just pull Tate Ratledge's name out just because I'm thinking of him. It can't be that when he gets pulled over by a cop in 15 years and he's speeding, he can't be, well, that's not real. This is real. So, that's the only thing. That was a bad example, but you get my point.
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of think it's a part of who he is, and that's why he's
but just not always this way. He's not always this way, Kirby. He's really not. He is fun at, he really enjoys, see, I told you so. He likes that a lot.
Yeah, and he's always he never holds back on telling the media
right,
this and that. You guys know this. You don't know this. All that. So I just think he's just outwardly spoken. He's only going to keep secrets that are beneficial to him keeping it. If he thinks that it needs to be said, he's going to say it. But kind of back to the root of it, they did get a raw deal. Are you kidding me? I mean, there's not a real way to make the scheduling evening. At least I haven't sat down and tried to make a schedule for a 16-team conference. But are you kidding me? I mean, they got sent.
So here's why I say they. Here's why I say
a raw deal.
I'm sorry. Here's why I say they don't. You know, they had to play at Texas, they had to play at Alabama, and they had to play at Ole Miss, right? So very challenging for sure. They also played Kentucky, Mississippi State, you know,
Auburn,
but they're mandated, which is you're getting to my point here.
They had to play Tennessee too.
Well, they didn't have to play Tennessee, but was it unfair? I mean, Alabama had a really hard schedule too, to be honest. I mean, they you know, let me get it in front of me, y'all. Give me a second. I want to talk to you.
Georgia,
What was unfair in my view, and said it from the start, or however you want to put it, is, you know, Texas is the one that benefited more than Georgia not benefiting. I mean, like, you know, Ole Miss, they played. Hold on. Give me a second. I want to make sure I speak halfway intelligently here.
Real quick, I'll say this, Dean. You know, you can talk about the road schedule that Georgia's had. If it's the opposite next year,
it is the opposite.
Everyone's going to talk about how easy Georgia's schedule is and how they've got all these great teams at home. So they're not going to benefit, you know, in next year at all for playing the top teams because a lot of them are going to be at home. But no one wants to talk about playing on the road this year. But you already know next year when Alabama and Texas come to Athens, everyone's going to be saying, oh, another, you know, Georgia's got them at home. Georgia's got them at home. So they're going to hear that side of it next fall. Sorry, Dean.
So just like off the top of my head, some of these I don't know, but this year Alabama played 10-plus win Georgia from 2013, 10-plus win Georgia, 10-plus win Tennessee, 10-plus win Missouri, I believe 10-plus win LSU, I believe 10-plus win Oklahoma. Was Oklahoma 10-plus wins in 2023?
Oh, you're talking about from the previous year.
From the previous year. That's a lot of 10-plus wins, y'all. Now, they didn't play them all, you know, on the road, but they played in Knoxville, which they were supposed to. They played in Baton Rouge, which they were supposed to. And then they went to Oklahoma. Let's look at LSU's situation. LSU played Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma. Now, Florida was not great. So, you know, the Rebels, who just goofed it up, just, you know, they played LSU, Oklahoma, Georgia. So Ole Miss kind of had a relatively easy schedule. So Missouri was the team I thought could maybe jump up and do this because of their schedule, but they didn't. They played A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma. Those were teams that were decent in 20. Does someone want to look up 2023 Oklahoma? I can do it real quick as we talk.
I have a hard time.
I just don't at all believe that. I think Oklahoma ended the season last year. Yeah, they were 10-3. I mean, you know, some of this is a little bit of a stretch. Did Georgia have an extremely complicated and difficult schedule? They definitely did. Did Georgia play the most difficult schedule in the country? 100% they did. And for the most part, they chose that. And I have to say, it may have benefited from them at the end of the day. I don't think they got screwed. I may have said that in the past. But looking back on it now, you know, I'm not sure I can say that because, you know, the league is trying to say to everyone, we're going to keep traditional rivals, which means Georgia then has to play Florida and Auburn. And everyone's going to play Texas or Oklahoma in the first year. Well, shit, Oklahoma can't play everybody. They damn near did, though, y'all. Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, and LSU. That is rough. Anyway, Matt, wrapping it up. And let me just say this one thing, too. I was going to throw it to Ryan to wrap it. Ryan, one thing that I think is important to say, and I guess we were all three in the dome at the time, it is hard to hear in there in these microphone moments. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I think it should have been done better by the league. Well, I guess by the league first, ABC second, and then Georgia third. I don't know. I mean, if like I don't know if like Leland and them were running guys on the stage. I don't know how that was working post game, to be honest with you. And they only do that once a year, Ryan. But go ahead, you wrap it up. Say whatever you want to say at the end here.
Yeah, the only difference between Georgia's schedule and all of those, like, right, a lot of those teams played 3 or 4 of the big teams in the SEC, but they sent for Georgia's 4 out of the 4 big games, 3 of them were on the road, and that's
right.
the difference is they sent them on the road for 3 of them. It'll flip flop and be beneficial next year, but for this season, that's a tough thing to do. In addition to other road games, in addition to the neutral sites and all that, so that's the one difference there. In terms of what happened on the podium, I don't really have a problem with it. Maybe I don't think that you necessarily have a problem with it, but yeah,
I don't care. I think people are.
It's Kirby riling up the Georgia fan base and the team, and that's exactly what he's trying to do, and it's working because he's got people drinking the Kool-Aid, and you can see it when you go to the comment sections online and everything. Yeah. So I think that it's very calculated.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks for watching.